All right, so President Joe Biden launched a drone strike in Kabul, Afghanistan over the weekend, which apparently ended up taking out one of the top Al-Qaeda officials named Ayman al-Zawahiri. So here from Reuters, we got a little bit of details in terms of what went down. They say the United States killed Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri with a drone missile while he stood on a balcony at his home in Kabul. U.S. officials said the biggest blow to the militants since Osama bin Laden was shot dead more than a decade ago. And this guy, al-Zawahiri, was really like the top leader who took over after Osama, was killed in Pakistan, which is kind of an important thing to note given how much time and money and resources and death and destruction that we wasted in Afghanistan. We ended up finding Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, but kind of just a tangential point here. But they continue with more details saying that Afghanistan's Taliban government has not confirmed the death of Zawahiri, an Egyptian surgeon who had a $25 million bounty on his head and helped coordinate the 9/11 attacks on the United States. And they say U.S. officials, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said Zawahiri was killed when he came out on the balcony of his safe house in the Afghan capital at 6:18 a.m. on Sunday and was hit by Hellfire missiles from a U.S. drone. And President Joe Biden said, now justice has been delivered and this terrorist leader is no more. And Biden said that he authorized the strike after months of planning and that no civilians or family members were killed. So probably going to need a little bit of background research and fact checking on this statement that there were no civilian casualties, because we do know that the Joe Biden administration has a pretty recent track record in terms of lying about civilian casualties in drone strikes in Kabul, Afghanistan. So going to need some background on that. But if they manage to do that, then that's absolutely great, I guess. But they continue with more quotes here. This one from Liz Truss from Britain, who apparently is one of the top people running to take Boris Johnson's place as the leader of the Conservative Party there. But she said the world will be a safer place. Will it actually be a safer place? I don't really know. I tend to think that the war on terror has done absolutely nothing other than perpetuate a hatred and rejection of the United States' involvement in the Middle East. I don't think that it has done anything to make us actually safer as a country. And even if you want to go back to the 9/11 terrorist attacks, I mean, which country is responsible for funding and supplying and arming the precursor to Al-Qaeda and the Taliban? It was the United States funding the Mujahideen in Afghanistan against the Soviet-backed government. So at the end of the day, this is basically just a downward spiral that we are choosing to continue in. I'm not obviously a fan of the Taliban. I'm not a fan of Al-Qaeda, and I'm glad that this motherfucker is dead. But still, in terms of it actually making us safer in the long run, no, I don't think that the overall war on terror has made anybody safer, whether it's within the Middle East and the instability we have caused there, or as a direct threat to the United States. But that was her take on that. They continue saying that 3 spokespeople in the Taliban administration declined to comment on Tuesday, and the U.S. accused the Taliban of violating an agreement between them by sheltering Zawahiri. And Taliban spokesperson, not even going to try to pronounce this name. Actually, you know what? It's Zabihullah Mujahid, okay, close enough probably, previously confirmed that a strike took place in Kabul on Sunday and called it a violation of international principles, which is kind of another interesting part of this, because listen, I mean, great that this guy is dead now, but a couple of different follow-up questions to that. Number one is that I think the overwhelming majority of the American people assumed that when we pulled our troops out of Afghanistan, that meant that we were actually ending the war in Afghanistan. So number one, obviously I'm not surprised that we are continuing to engage in drone strikes in this country, but we also obviously, because of the information that they had on this guy, clearly have a presence on the ground in Afghanistan, whether that's, the CIA or other intelligence operatives or whatever. Clearly we still have some presence on the ground, and we are still willing to use air firepower in order to take out targets basically wherever we want. But even in Afghanistan, when the Taliban is rejecting that and saying that it violates international principles. So I think that in and of itself is kind of an interesting thing to question here, is why are we even still continuing to engage in war in Afghanistan after you said that we were going to be ending this 2 decades long project after all this time and wasted resources and lives, but still that war is continuing. But also an even more important follow-up question to that would be, why the fuck did we spend so much time and resources in Afghanistan with an on-the-ground troop presence that was escalating, especially under the Obama administration, but just escalating to the point where we were running in circles, and even the Pentagon didn't really understand what their mission was in Afghanistan. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. We knew that thanks to the Pentagon papers that got leaked. But if you were able to take out somebody as a top Al-Qaeda official like al-Zawahiri is, if you're able to go after somebody like that without having an on-the-ground troop presence there, then that kind of asks a follow-up question, which is like, what were we spending all of this time doing? Why did we have so many troops in Afghanistan waging this endless war, and they were completely unable to get somebody like the top leader of Al-Qaeda, the supposed group which started this war in the first place, or was the justification for the United States going into Afghanistan in the first place? And then it's only after we leave with our on-the-ground troop presence in Afghanistan that you end up successfully taking them out. So I think there's a lot of questions to be asked in this situation. Again, obviously glad that this motherfucker is dead, but in terms of it actually making us safer, no, I don't think that it is. And I think that ending the war on terror would be infinitely superior than continuing to engage in these drone strikes, not just in Afghanistan, but around the Middle East, around Africa, with various special ops groups and troop presence, and CIA and other intelligence presence as well around the world. I think that reducing our overall military presence would go much, much farther in terms of improving security to the United States and for average Americans than continuing in this ongoing endless project of military conquest and global dominance